Well, I hope you're doing really well out there today. This is just a quick update, but I'm excited to announce something I've been asked 100 times over the past couple of years, but excited to announce today that I'll be hosting an online championship called the Historic Road Racing Championship. Now, this championship's not trying to recreate one specific series or race, but rather inspired heavily from the sports car racing of the 1950s. This championship is all about driving gorgeous cars on gorgeous tracks. Long, real, natural terrain roads with 1950s sports cars, challenging both for driving the cars, but also navigating the long circuits. It'll be just as much about racing as it will be learning the tracks and trying to make it through the events unscathed. Somewhat of a gentleman's series, but there will be real racing and real competition along the way, but also some fantastic driving. Doing the Le Mans video I did last week and seeing the response to that, I think finally pushed me over the edge to take this idea and make it a reality. So this championship will be run over the next 6 months, starting in July with one race per month. It'll be using R-Factor 2 as the sim, which I know is not the most popular sim, but the 1954 cars for R-Factor 2 that we'll be using are some of the best driving cars that I've driven in a long time, certainly for this era. And so if you do have R-Factor 2 and haven't given them a try or are looking for something maybe new and exciting to try out, I highly recommend trying them. All of the races throughout the season will be run on Saturdays at 1 p.m. UTC, which is about 9 a.m. East Coast time. I wish I could pick a time that would work for every single person around the world, but I think Saturdays themselves hopefully are open for most people that would like to do something like this. And it's just once a month, so it's not asking you to be around every single Saturday to dedicate your time to it. Throughout the season, we'll be taking them to 6 of the best road racing circuits in the world for 2 different types of events, both head-to-head races, traditional standing start off-the-grid races, and also live TT events. The season itself will start out with a 2-hour test of endurance at Longford in Australia. Fast straightaways and challenging braking zones. I think this will be the perfect place to set the tone for the series on the narrow roads, over the bridges, and under the viaducts. From there, for the August race, we'll be going to the fast straightaways of Spa-Francorchamps. In what will probably be one of the most popular races of the season, I expect a lot of slipstreaming during this event, but it will take a lot of patience and nerve to get to the end. And then on to September for the third event of the season and the first TT-style race for the Isle of Man, 6 laps of the classic mountain course. 37 3/4 miles. It'll be both a challenge to memorize the track as much as it will be driving it. And it will be a TT style event, a live TT style event with starting times separated by a number of seconds, but all of the drivers on the track at the same time. You'll be doing a race against the clock while trying to navigate any of the competitors that are out there. We'll stay in the north for the 4th round of the season, and in October go to Dundrod for a 2-hour head-to-head race. Although much shorter than the Isle of Man, being a head-to-head race on such a narrow track will prove to be quite difficult. And then for round 5 in November, we'll take on the legend of them all, the Targa Florio, for a second TT event, 3 laps around Piccolo de Madone, in what will surely be the ultimate test of the championship. And then to cap things off in December, what will likely be another very popular event, a fitting place for the season finale, Le Mans for 2 hours. So it's a very varied schedule, and so is the car selection. There's 3 different classes of cars that we'll be running. We'll be running the faster set from the 1954 mod, the 2-liter class, the 3-liter class, and then the 5-liter plus class. And we will be running a separate championship per class, but we'll also be running an overall championship. Just because some of the cars have a little less power doesn't mean they won't be competitive on some of the circuits. It's so hard to get the power down and control the 5-liter cars that the 3-liter and 2-liter cars will definitely be suited to outrun them, potentially on the Targa Florio, the Isle of Man. Any race that requires circuit knowledge and endurance and making it to the end, controlling your car successfully, which I think defines pretty much all of these races. I think that means almost any car could win any event. And in our testing, we've seen that some of the slower cars are just as quick around some tracks. So with over 20 eligible cars, it'll be quite an eclectic grid and something exciting to track over the season. So this championship will be open for anyone to join. If you have R-Factor 2 and you want to try this out or try qualifying for a race, you're welcome to do so. I'll put a link in the description of this video for a full rule book and regulation guide that we've written up. A lot of detail about how the championship's going to work as far as picking cars and entering it and making liveries and all the fun stuff that's going to go along with it. You can enter the championship at any point, so if you find this a little bit down the road, you're more than welcome to enter for one of the later events, and you only have to race in the races that you want to. In the championship, if you're actually going to go for the points championship, we'll be counting just the 4 top results for each driver. This is actually something that was done quite commonly throughout the 50s and 60s, so you don't have to enter all the races to win the championship. So hopefully it will be flexible enough for folks to compete the full season. But if you just want to enter it to have some fun for a single race, you're more than welcome to do so. So like I said, details about entering the championship are in the rule book. It explains the whole process, and a couple things to be aware of. One is the selection of car. We're not allowing folks to change their vehicle once they register. So I'd strongly suggest and recommend that you go try out a bunch of the different cars at the different circuits and find the one that fits your driving style, allows you to control it. It's going to be so much more important to get to the end of the race than necessarily do a second a lap quicker or something like that. So something you're comfortable driving, I think, will get you a lot further. And we've already seen in the handful of folks that have signed up, it's very split over the 3 different classes. The second thing is, since this is an open sign-up, we can't guarantee that everybody will start the race, so there is a pre-qualifying process in place for all of the rounds of the season. The rulebook explains all the details here too, but the high level of it is the week before the race, starting on Monday through Friday, there'll be an open practice server that runs 24/7. If you're registered for the series, you can join that server and turn practice times. We'll take the top percentage of drivers from each class that turn times in those sessions, and those will be the ones that get to race. So it's a bit like qualifying. You can bump each other out if we happen to get more entries. Most of the tracks support around 40 cars, and I think that might be where we top out. So if we happen to get more than 40 drivers pre-qualifying for the race, we'll get a little action leading up. Now, although the championship starts in July, to kick things off, we're actually going to be doing a test race this weekend, not counting for any points, but really just to vet through everything, make sure we can get everything up and running and that the events run smoothly. So this Saturday, June 25th, is the first race of the season, the preseason test at Rouen, which is a bit different than the other circuits, still a natural road course, but quite a lot shorter. But I think it'll be a perfect place to do an opening season test and get us all out there and see how this whole thing works. Pre-qualifying for that event starts now, so if you enter, the servers are already up and running for you to start turning times. Definitely not required to do this preseason test if you plan on racing in the actual championship, but it'll be good to get a full field out there and make sure everything works, test out the servers, and make sure we have no issues once things really start counting. Check out the rulebook if you're interested. I'll be streaming my view of the races, and then we'll probably put together a bit of a highlights reel or something for each of the events themselves so you can get a total view of what went on during the races. Hopefully some of the other drivers will stream their parts as well, and I think it'll be so much fun, such a challenge. I hope I make all of the races, but nobody's locked in, so it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out over the year. Lastly, massive shout out to Just Race, who's putting on all the servers, all the technology behind everything to do the scoring during the pre-qualifying and all of that. I've run an event in the past with them, and they mostly do Automobilista if you're interested in racing with some folks. But they do have R Factor 2, Assetto Corsa, I think AMS2 has capabilities, and they've been very helpful in getting this up and running with me. So I think that's about it for the high-level stuff. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I'll try to respond to everything I can. The rulebook itself likely covers almost everything you could want to ask. And if you do want to join, the instructions are in there for how to do so. One last note too, if you do join right around the time this video comes out, or maybe around any of the races, just be a bit patient with the whole entry process. We'll try to get to everybody as quickly as we can, but for folks requesting paint schemes and things like that, it might take a bit of time to work through everybody entering. So I think that's about it. For all the folks out there that have been requesting that I do a series like this or host an online championship or something for the last couple of years, I hope this meets some of that need. I'm really excited to race in it and see how everything unfolds, see if we can get a good group of folks that can really race around some of these ultra challenging circuits. I think it could be something really unique in sim racing. So until the first race, until I see you out there, thanks for watching. This is GP Laps, and I'll see y'all again next time.